Hello everyone, this is Sineve, and I'm coming to you with Sweet Insomnia, a Jeff the Killer X reader by DarkQueenXxRei. We're going to be starting off with a Nightmare 8. Ronder? You widened your eyes at the dark brown-haired man. What's the matter? He asked with a smirk on his face. Did Jeff not tell you the truth yet? He really had been keeping things from you still. You doubted that what he was telling you was the truth, but you didn't think he would keep any more big lies from you. You absolutely hated him. What do you think is going on? The man questioned as he walked around the room slowly. He paced back and forth while keeping eye contact with you. Do you think all these people are trying to kill you for no reason? He asked. Do you really believe what he said? He stopped in his tracks and looked directly at you as he muttered, I think I'd better let you in on a little secret. By this point, you had already thought of your escape route. You would pull a picture frame off the shelf and hit the man with it. Then you would run out the front door and try to find someone that could help with Jeff. That was the plan, anyway. Ryan, I understand that you may be scared, but I want to tell you. I'm on your side, he said. I'm not trying to put you in danger. In fact, I'm doing the complete opposite of Jeff. He slowly approached you. I'm protecting you. And who are you? You stuttered. The man smiled at you and replied, Dr. Smiley, of course. You shook your head violently in a state of shock. With adrenaline filling every nook and corner of your veins, you tried to pull a picture frame off the shelf. It was glued to the wood. What type of person does that? How crazy is this guy? I told you, I'm on your side, he declared, his smile fading. Now, why don't you sit down? You hesitated for a moment, but sat down slowly on the comfy leather couch and faced him. He smiled again and said, Perfect. I was afraid I would have to go get some medicine. That word started to scar you a little bit ago. Every time you heard it, it would ring through your ears and pound on your skull until it irritated you just a crack more. You didn't want to hear it ever again, so you decided to behave for this man. He swiftly sat down on the opposite couch and said, So, will you let me explain now? And he nodded. Good, he smiled. To begin, I'd like to ask what he has told you so far. You gulped and muttered. He said that he put me to sleep on the 10th night, and he started driving. You looked away and fluttered your eyes, trying to search for a reply. It was hard to think in that time of fear. This is the 11th day, you said, and you and Jane are trying to kill me. You looked back at Smiley, and he chuckled slightly as he said, You really shouldn't trust him. He looked around a bit and then asked, Do you want a cup of water? You shook your head. There was no way you would accept any food or drink from him. He nodded, quickly stood up, and shuffled over to the kitchen area. He filled up a glass of water and brought it back to the room you were in. You thought of escape, but something was telling you to stay. So, you've learned your lesson, he mumbled as he sat down. I'll just get to the point then. He put his hand through his hair and said, This isn't the 11th day. You tensed. Your tension increased, and you questioned whether or not you should believe him. After all, he was trying to murder you. No, you sighed. It is. I can't trust you. Oh, but Ryan, he said. You can't trust Jeff. I'm the only one you should trust. Your mind was in a circle of feelings. It was like a repeat cycle of distress, sadness, fear, and anger, and now Jeff was just adding more fuel to the fire. Why? You asked. Because I know all the secrets. I know all the lies, and I can tell you all the truth, he said. He tilted his head and continued. If you can stay here and trust me, then I will tell you everything that's going on behind the scenes. He leaned in closer to you and held out his palm. We have some history from 2 years ago that we should touch up on, he muttered. What do you say? You eyed his hand and thought about your hidden curiosity and envy for information. Your heart told you to stay, but your gut told you to run. And after only 2 seconds, you placed your hand in his. Great, Smiley mumbled. First of all, you were knocked unconscious on the 10th night. Nightmare 9, rehearsed. I was unconscious? You asked. Right, Smiley said. You were in a coma. A coma? For how long? What happened when you were out? Why wouldn't Jeff tell you? And how does this guy know? Should you even believe him? You thought. You were out for 6 months, he said, almost reading your mind. You got here on the 11th day, and I watched over you. Your mind was flustered, and you were certain that you would never give your trust to anyone ever again. You were deceived for the 3rd time, and you would make sure that it was the last. I'll spare you some of the details, Smiley muttered. But there are some things that happened over the 6 months that you would be more than happy to know about. You looked up at him and nodded. Jeff met up with Jane about a week after the incident, he said. They fought, as usual, but something strange happened that time. His voice trailed off as he thought of a new subject. Anyway, he stated, just a couple of days ago, Jeff came and took you, certain that he would wake you up faster. He shifted a little and said, I'm not sure why he would bring you back, but he is really unpredictable. What the hell is that? Is that the full truth? Is everything that Dr. Smiley said true? And what if he's the one that's lying? What if Jeff was telling the truth? Who can you trust, Jane? It seems like she's the only one that hasn't told a lie so far. Smiley leaned in closer and mumbled, Jane died. As if reading her mind once again. You didn't believe that. You had just seen her no more than 15 minutes ago. She just stabbed Jeff, you recoiled. I just saw her. Oh, that's not true, Smiley said, leaning back. That's just an impersonator. Who could it be, then? It looked exactly like her. Even the facial features were exactly as they were before. Pale skin, black aura, soulless eyes. You could recognize those eyes anywhere. Smiley must know, right? This is someone even worse than Jane because they're acting off revenge, he said. This is Jane's sister. What else didn't you know? You didn't even think she had any immediate family around. The world just kept surprising you. I was never fond of her, Smiley said. Did you change sides when Jane died? You asked. Jeff said that Smiley was trying to kill you, so why isn't he? He chuckled and said, I was never on her side, but I'm assuming that Jeff told you I was. Why would Jeff say that? Why does he want you to live in a fake world so badly? The bliss of silence? It's better not to know, but curiosity is a stronger feeling. Don't worry, Wyan. Everything has already been planned out, Smiley confessed. Think of it as simply acting off a script. But you forgot your lines. Let all of the others' roles take care of everything. He smiled a bit wider as the doorbell rang. Looks like we have a guest here to see you, he said as he stood up. He paced over to the door quickly, and he placed his hand on the doorknob and said, Wyan, meet Blair. He opened the door to reveal the so-called impersonator of Jane. She had a wide smile and her hands behind her back. You stood up and immediately thought of your old hair clip that Jeff gave you in the car. Didn't you put it in your pocket? Now that he's taken care of, Blair trailed off, referencing Jeff as she started walking towards you. Why wasn't Smiley doing anything? He was just standing there next to the door with a smile on his face. It seemed like he's the snitch in this story. He's always just watched from a distance and then proceeded to correct all the lies he'd been told. Blair was then a foot away from you. You stuck your hand into your pocket and pulled out your hair clip, being extremely lucky that the sharp side was facing away from your face, and you jabbed it into Blair's neck. She stumbled a bit, but regained her stamina and pulled out the knife from behind her back. Distressed that your plan failed, you closed your eyes and expected the worst. You heard a bit of shuffling, a vacant sound of a struggle, and a thud. You reopened your eyes and saw Smiley standing over Blair's body with a bloody scalpel in hand. You said Jeff was stabbed, right? He asked calmly. Yeah, you nodded, panting. Let's go check up on him, he muttered as he walked out the front door. You hesitated for a moment, staring at Blair's lifeless vessel, but ended up following him. He showed you the way to the cliff, the place that he assumed was where the incident happened. And when you reached the clearing, you saw Jeff's body in the distance near the edge, so you ran over to him and got on your knees. He had blood all over his mouth and neck, and there was also a lot of blood coming from his stomach, though an apparent hole in his hoodie. A puddle of red was formed as a silhouette around him. Wyan, he mumbled. You were so mad at him, but you can still feel depressed, seeing his hurt and weak body, who was in need of medical attention. Jeff, you replied, laying your hand on his chest. He lifted his left hand and placed it on yours as he said, I'm so sorry. His pupils fluttering over to Smiley and then back to you, and he looked deeply into your eyes. Hush, you said. It'll be okay. Smiley spoke up and declared, I'll have to bring him back to the cabin so that I can put him into surgery, and you can stay there with us if you'd like, Wyan. You nodded as he stood up and stared at Jeff's cut. You were honestly hoping that he wouldn't make it out alive. Scratch that. He didn't deserve to die. He just didn't deserve to be around you. Nightmare 10. Relapse. You woke up in a fluffy bed that was sitting in the middle of a decorative pure white room. The small window in the back wall was facing away from the sun, so it wasn't too bright. You groggily moved away the covers and stood up, the blood rushing to your head slightly. But the brown haze in your vision didn't go too far before it retreated. You picked up a stack of folded clothes and took it into the bathroom. You set the clothes down on the counter and looked at yourself in the mirror. Your hair was a mess, and you had bags under your eyes. You tried to wash off your face in the sink, but decided that it would be best to take a shower. And when you took off your clothes, a severe pain struck through your left side. You turned to the side and looked at your hip through the mirror. There was a stitched-up scar. How had you not noticed it before? Did you want to know what made it even worse? It was in the spot that Jeff stabbed you in the dream. You breathed heavily in fear and got in the shower quickly. You didn't even want to know what happened. You just wanted to clean up. You were careful to keep your side out of the water because you were sure that it would hurt if it made contact. And when you were finished, you changed into the clean outfit. It was just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. Smiley said that he had plenty of other choices, but you didn't bother picking something else. You still wondered, though, how he had a bunch of female clothing. You dried off your hair with a hairdryer and left the bathroom. You remember the night before when you brought Jeff back to the cabin. You were struck with fear again as you recalled that Blair was missing. When Smiley opened the door, her body wasn't there. Only a pool of blood remained. At that point, he was telling you to go to bed and that he would take care of it. He did a pretty good job, as the living room didn't have a single object out of place. Then again, he has cleaned up a murder before. You called out for Smiley, but got no response. Then you thought of the basement he had mentioned. You looked in all the closets, but you couldn't find any hidden stairs or doors. However, there was a door at the end of the hall that was locked. And to your luck, when you checked Smiley's room, you found a silver key on the nightstand. It fit perfectly in the locked door handle. Halfway down the stairs, you smelled the most horrid thing. You gagged and covered your nose. You had no clue what the smell was from, but it was terrible and gruesome. When you made it to the bottom of the steps, you turned the corner and saw Smiley going through some tools on a table. He had on a doctor's mask and a lab coat. He looked over at you and said, "No. Hey, Ryan, I see you've noticed the smell." His cheeks got higher. "You get used to it." He went back to looking through the tools and pulled one from the pile. "You can come and see him if you'd like," he said. "Just put this on." He picked up a mask from the table and held it out to you. You stepped closer and took it from his hand, and when you put it on, you were relieved to realize that it helped to keep out the smell. You followed Smiley down a dark corridor and into a bright room. There were fluorescent lights on the ceiling spaced about 3 feet away from each other. "You should wake up by tonight," Smiley sighed as he led you over to Jeff. He was in what looked like a hospital bed. There were some tubes running from his wrist to a heart monitor, and it was strange because he was in a human form. He hadn't been like that since Japan. His hair was brown and his skin wasn't as white as usual. His breath was even and slow. "How was he able to look like that?" you asked Smiley. He looked over at you and chuckled. "That's the one thing I can't tell you." "It looks like black magic to me," you muttered. "Well, Ryan," Smiley said, "how do you think he was able to live after this accident?" "Accident?" he questioned. "What accident?" You looked over at him and narrowed your eyes. "Oh, that's right," he muttered. "You don't remember what he told you. Let's just say that he was supposed to die when he was younger." He started to put on a latex glove as he said, "I pulled some strings and helped him and his brother make it out alive. I'm still not sure what happened to that sibling or what Jeff knows about it, but I haven't seen him for a while." You looked down, slightly confused, and then you heard Jeff's heart monitor start to go off faster. You gazed up at him as Smiley rushed over to a tray and sifted through tools. You got closer to Jeff and took his hand, trying to see if it would calm him down. You didn't know what to do since you had never known much about the medical field. Jeff's eyes shot open and he sat up quickly, almost lunging towards you. He grasped your hand tighter and brought his face closer to yours. He looked at you with wide eyes and started shaking. The heart monitor in the background kept going up. You started to breathe in fear as he said, "Don't trust." He stopped moving completely and the heart monitor died down. He glanced over his shoulder to see Smiley sticking a syringe in his back. He pulled it out roughly and laid him back down. You ripped your hand from Jeff's weak grip and backed up. What just happened?" you asked. Smiley put the syringe back on the tray and said, "He was most likely having a dream, and when you grabbed his hand, he was starting to wake up. This made him carry out his actions in real life." "So he wasn't trying to tell me something?" "Of course not, Ryan," he said. There was something else going on for sure. It sounded like Jeff was trying to talk to you. He was looking at you so deeply, and you were sure that he knew it was you. "Why don't we wrap up here and go upstairs?" Smiley asked politely. "We can have breakfast and talk about things." "Okay," you replied. What was Smiley's intentions? He wasn't telling you the full truth either, was he? And sure, he hasn't exactly lied to you, but he has been keeping information, like about the cut on your side. You followed him upstairs, and you both threw away your masks. As if he had known about your previous whereabouts, he held his hand out and asked for the key to the door in the hall. When you handed it to him, he muttered, "I don't think he's going to last very long." That is the end of that chapter, or for those chapters. Let me know how you guys feel about those, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Until next time, bye-bye.